I just don't be understanding why niggas want to joke so much. What motherfucker, fools, Negroes, punks jump up to get beat down. Busters be having big jokes, yo. Punks jump up to get beat down. Busters be having big jokes, yo. And it's fucked up. And what's cold is you don't have no options. Stop trying to avoid the inevitable. Stop postponing the apparent. Stop postponing your purpose. Your purpose. You know what I mean? Your destiny. Your destiny. Whatever your destiny is, it's already set. And what's cold about it is like you might have missed it, but that doesn't mean that it's not that it didn't happen. You might have just taken yourself out of the actual application, the direct contact of it. You know, the direct effect of it. Direct, I guess you could say, textured, circumference, textured, yeah, fucking essence, texture of it. It's like just the same analogy with the, you could be turned away from somewhere. If you're not in a forest to hear the tree fall, doesn't mean that it doesn't make a sound. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't mean that it does not affect you. That tree is falling. The idea of relativity, idea of spaciousness, degrees of separation, basically. Everything is everything, as Miss Hill said. And everything is interrelated and connected, linked. So, as far as destiny, as far as fate, that's the two sides of reality, of divine order. Your destiny is your fate is your destiny, but fate is something that chases you, that follows you, that haunts you, while your destiny is something that you pursue. It's the same destination. But one, you're gonna be turned. It's all in where you're in the direction that you're facing. And that's what I'm saying. As far as like, all of this is set in stone. However, it's changing. The stone is never the same. Like you look at it in 1 second, and before you can even it registers as what it is, it's already changed to something else. Much like a photograph is a stilled image of a motion picture, and when you look at it, depending on the part of a person's profile or portrait that you're looking at, you get a different impression, you get a different, I guess you could say, image in your mind. You get a different, reaction to it, vision, interpretation. Like if you focus on one part of a person's face, like say for instance, if it was a photo and it was cropped and you could only see a smile, you wouldn't know that the person had one eye. And you look at the full picture and it totally changes the feeling of that smile. And that's just one example. I mean, that's an extreme example, but just all of the different details and nuances, to where it's all the same picture, but it's just different parts of the same picture that add to the full experience, the full effect. So, as far as all that's going on and has been happening, a lot of it seems a way based on our focus, based on the attention, and where the intention is focused as well as directed and derived from. And we might even be looking at one section of a particular photograph, but we're looking at it through a particular filtered lens to begin with. We could be looking at a frozen, stilled, glitched screen, or like I guess you could say snapshot of an actual film, a moving film. And we think we're looking at a photograph, but it's a whole movie that's just stuck in place. Because we ain't pressed the play button yet. Or we still got our finger blocking the pause, Just as an example, as an analogy. as a parable, or whatever you might say. As far as, though, all of this being divine order, that's very difficult. It's kind of intimidating. It's very frustrating. It's extremely presumptuous to make a statement like this is all God's plan. Because, like, why would God create pain, create, you know what I mean? War and trauma, why? Like, how comes it happens to some people and not to everybody? And what's the difference? And, like, why does it even matter? Like, I mean, to be honest, every moment is a blessing, and that's why it matters. It's like, that's the only thing that does matter, is that each second you have is a gift, is a chance, as an opportunity, as well as a miracle. And it's special, and it's just for you. And everybody have their just for yous, their own, to share. But even in sharing it together, a part of it is only ours, And that's the only thing that actually makes a difference, because if it doesn't matter to you, if it doesn't, if it's not even significant to you, then no matter what somebody would try to make it mean or try to force as the purpose of it or the definition of it, if it's not something that resonates in your soul or that you are ready to even move on, then it only has so much significance, only has so much impact, only has so much gravity or brevity in the active as well as functional realm of your existence, of your contribution, of your position, of your, angle, of your own identity, of your own, message, as well as, comprehension and composition, as far as your experience, you know what I'm saying? Your family, your friends, your dreams, your goals, your activities, and your motion, your movement, your style. That's the situation. As far as the style and your movement, you have to, there's something that has to be accepted beforehand, though. I mean, it's something that needs to be respected or not respected. It has to either be ignored or accepted. And if you can accept it, then that means that's the opposite of ignoring it. But ignoring it is not always just seeing it. It's, you have to examine it. You have to study it. You have to learn it. You know what I mean? You want to be able to appreciate it and the different parts of it, the different areas of the larger spectrum of it. And that takes different types of focus, different type of filters, different, angles. And it takes also you changing, because everything is everything. But as you change, the same things are different to you. And it's just for you. Everybody have their just for yous, And so it's like those things can only be as different as they were meaningful to you to begin with. Right? So it's like if you just take a quick glance at what is before you, then the next time you see it, you might notice something different or contrasting, and that may encourage you to take a longer look at it. But then that in itself is going to shape your interpretation of it. And then it'll take you seeing it quicker or looking at it longer the next time you see something different. And it's like, and that's only just one part of it. It's only one area of what you look at. So it's like, I don't know. It just, you can't be so extreme. You can't be so, I guess you can't be sensitive. You can't be presumptuous. You can't be prejudiced, basically. You don't want to have a prejudgment of something. You always want to, entertain the unknown, It's like, even like the situation with the new colors, and sound and the message and the whole sort of like the synopsis, the main message. And that is, what I'm saying to you is like, you either going to see it as meant or see it as an accident. You know, like Albert Einstein had a quote. He said, "There's two ways to look at life. The first is to look at life as if nothing is a miracle, and the second way is to look at life as if everything is a miracle." And that's just the point. Like, either this is divine order or it's not. And so that kind of like broadens your approach, broadens your perception and perspective, because you have to think about, like, okay, well, then if you get into that, then you have to kind of accept, you have to sort of like consider life beyond just your lifetime, life beyond just your material incarnation here in this particular physical realm. And that's where it gets surreal. That's where it gets sort of like fantastic. Because it's like, how are you supposed to connect that? How are you supposed to even reference that? Well, bro, that's what we're distracted from every day. That's what we're distracted from every day. To keep it, you know what I'm saying? To keep it raw and 4,000% with you, loco. Like, you can't say, oh, well, you know, you never know until you get there. And then by then you can miss life, fucking around worried about it. Hey, man, touche. However, my nigga, if you got time to be watching me, bro, or watching other people doing what they're doing, as opposed to just focusing on your destiny, on your purpose, on your fate/destiny, to where you can realize it as well as shaping and to be able to see it different ways, different times as you change with it, as opposed to never even noticing it and missing it completely within this short lifetime, then I'm not trying to hear that low-key about how, oh, because really that's your fear. You're pushing that fear. You're trying to share the fear, because we gonna be sharing regardless. So it's not really your fault that you need to confirm so that you can feel more comfortable being, you know, apprehensive, because there is so much confusion, there is so much tension, and as well as trauma, as well as not just tension, but just anxiety behind there not having that portal, that station, that platform for actualizing and acclimating, as well as realizing and realizing and relaying. You know, like, this is dialogue. This is all communication. This is really what is to be communicated. This is really what is enriching to our souls, and that is reality, connecting on a real level. They don't have to always be so serious or important, but at least transparently authentic or sincere, you know, like. But it's like, if we already feeling like everything is hidden, is a secret, is a lie to begin with, then it's like we gonna be trying to fuck with people's feelings as much as possible, because it's like, that's really what we are accepting is the meaning for all of this. It's really just to fuck with your feelings. And that's not the meaning of all of this shit. It's to fuck with your feelings. And you see, that's the whole point. That's the problem, is we're not attributing, we're not instilling the proper function, purpose, the proper usage, the proper assignment, the proper fucking designation for these emotions. These emotions are basically just like markers, are basically just like symptoms. You know, they're basically just kind of like
sensors,
knobs,
sensors
to tweak your transmission. You know, in that connectivity between us. You know, we shouldn't be trapped in our emotions. We shouldn't be plagued or, you know what I mean, tortured, taunted by our emotions. You know, even fear can be good when it's making you cautious or discerning. You know, it makes you think twice when you have to question, or when there's an element of risk or danger. You know, the only threat is that it's not going to be how you would prefer for it to be, and that's why it's healthy for you to be able to reconsider, for you to have a little bit of apprehension sometimes, hesitation. You know, that's all that really is. But you don't want to get trapped there, because then it's like, if what you want doesn't actually transpire, then you're always trapped in that previous mode, in that preluding mode. You know, where you're sort of waiting until it's more natural, until it's more proper. But that it doesn't ever get proper, because it's like we're avoiding it. You know, it's what I was saying. And so it's like, that's what you gotta, that's the thing, like, you have to accept this is all God's plan. It's gotta be. So nothing happened without permission from the Most High. That's the whole idea of G-A-N-E-M-A. And that means basically because of God. It means inshallah, basically. By the will of God, and nothing without the permission of our Creator. It's in a Dinkra as well as Bantu proverb, a Khan proverb, out of the main sort of, I guess you could say, source lineages as well as tribal origins of the motherland. The Adinkra symbols, where you get every sort of shaped representation of particular concepts and standards, basically. You know, the heart shape comes out of the Adinkra stool. You got the cross, you got everything that come out of there. The star comes out of that. You know, this is where it starts at. And one of the shapes, one of the principles, one of the standards, it's called Yeye Niyeme. And that basically means that nothing happens that God don't want to happen, or at least allows, approves, basically. Which is the same thing as he wanted, you know, it being proper, basically. So it's like, if you look at it like that, you're either going to be upset, which most of us are low-key, silently upset about that, silently feeling a way about that. Most people probably even, you know, unawarely resent the fact that none of this can happen unless God wanted to, because if he didn't, then he would just stop it and just change it for us. Yes? Well, that's one way of looking at it. But if you really want to know, and you don't want to just feel a way about it and feel frustrated and fucked up about it, then you're going to have to go within and answer that question. You have to ask yourself first, do you feel like it's possible to answer that question? Why? Because the why is the what. The what is the how. The how is the who. The who is the when. The when is the where. Okay? So it starts with the why, though, yo. And the question not even why. As I was speaking with one of my brethren, one of my lineages, one of my chieftains, it's really why not. The better question is really why not. The answer is why. That's not the question. That's the answer. Why? That's not the question. Why? That's the answer. The real question is not why, yet why not? That's not the question. That's the answer. Why? That's not the question. Why? That's the answer. The real question is not why, yet why not? And that's a better question. Because you can answer that question faster than you can answer the question why. And if you start at why not, you're going to always be able to cancel out until you get to the one that's most universal, because it's not, why is always could be another why too. It's always got many whys in the why. You know what I mean? It's not only just one why. Everybody have their own why, and that's likened to their destiny, their purpose. And that is the link between destiny and purpose. It's the why and your why. The large Y and the lowercase y, G. Okay? You. X, Y, Z. So, you have to ask yourself, is it possible to know? Well, yeah, it is. It's going to take a lot more than what's even most common, what's most, regular nowadays. What's, you know what I mean? What's even the popular trend, which is to distract yourself from that as much as possible, as exhilarating as possible, as frivolous as possible, as meaningless as possible. And that's fine. However, even when you get into too much of that, past 51% of meaninglessness, then that is the meaning of it. It's to be meaningless. So it's self-defeatist as well as redundant and oxymoronic. So you can, like I said, you can be sincerely silly. You can be sincerely meaningless, but even if it's out of spite and resentment, then that becomes the meaning of even meaninglessness. So it's like you going all the way above beyond just to make a point. I'm trying to prove a point to you and whoever else is, will agree with you, that the more nonsense it make, the more, the more sense it makes more sense the more nonsense it makes. Since nothing has meaning anyway, or we can't prove the meaning, and if it doesn't matter, if it don't make no money, or it's not fun, or if you know what I mean, like if it don't do nothing for you, if you can't use it a particular way, you can say all that if you want, my nigga, but it's already written. You feel me? And it's in different parts of it. It's only visible right now. You know what I mean? You gotta really draw and dig. And what's beautiful about it though, every step in the right direction is a step you don't have to repeat. And every next step is larger. And it includes all of the steps before that. And so that's what's set in stone. When you walk around indecisively, when you're wandering indirectly, all you can do is just, get dizzy. And no matter what direction you're going, you're going to come to a destination, and that destination is going to turn you in another direction. So you accepting or not accepting is the way you go. It's what is going to determine your direction or your destination. Okay? It's what is going to determine your destination. It's what you see as a goal, as a destination. It's what you decide, basically. It's what you decide, basically. Your decision is what determines your destination. Your decision is what determines your destination. And your destination is what determines your direction. Right? As you do or don't do, it makes different things possible or less possible, more or less possible, to degrees, until it gets to a point to where it's all the way to the extremist degree and becomes either impossible or possible. And even whatever it is, it always can change. But I mean, if it changes back to what it was, and there's always an element of change in that. There's limits in changing and changing back. Like that's the first and the last, and last and the first is always the same thing. So it's like if one thing changes, but it's already been something, so it can't be that same thing again. And so that's a second degree of change. That's a second level. That's you know what I'm saying? The opacity is still That's nothing that never going to reverse, basically. And that's my illustration with the steps in the right direction, or steps in any particular direction that you are definitely deciding. But if you keep it in the air, like, oh, yeah, you understand, but then it's like, oh, that's what you are. That's also what you're deciding. So that one step you've already taken. You know what I mean? You can only take another step. Now, if the step's going to be in the same direction, now you getting further or closer to whatever destination that direction will lead you to, or brings you to, once that decision has already determined that destination. Because there's always different directions to get to particular destinations. However, there's only so many unless you change that destination. You know? So it's like, that's something to think about. Directions, destinations, and decisions. Directions, destinations. You know what I mean? We be like dancing with the 3 different, degrees of these D's. But there's only so much destiny to spread around. Okay? Before fate trip your steps, nigga. You feel me? Before fate pop out, nigga. You feel me? You dig? You set the, you know what I mean? So you fell into the trap of fate and shit. Doing all this dancing. So, I had, the word that I had in mind was basically, yes, this is all divine order. Yes, it is, of course. And when we embrace that idea, when we embrace that acceptance, that truth, then it makes you have to approach your dealings with a particular sort of opacity from particular angles. It's hard to remember because that's very drastic. That's a very, that's a very like conscious and, mature sort of business motto or model. And life don't always have to be so critical. Like, it takes the fun out of the danger, kind of, a little bit. But just be, however, it kind of doesn't though, honestly. It adds that mystic element to it, as opposed to it being so connivingly pretentious, so, dang, what's the word, man? When you approach life like it's gotta be lighthearted, like you need to leave room for other people to catch up, or leave room for the system, basically, because it's the ways that people do things, and it's like you kind of always want to consider what's accepted. You want to consider the status quo. You want to consider. You don't want to, make waves. You don't want to upset the balance of the algorithm, basically, because that's bringing unnecessarily attention for one. And it's making things more difficult than it has to be. However, the window for all of that was before you would even realize to say some shit like that, to be honest. We're past all of that, okay? Like, if you can't maneuver, if you can't navigate in both realms at this point, then you're just basically just using that as a fucking excuse, basically. Because that's like how motherfuckers be so self-conscious. Like, this new generation is extremely self-conscious of these different states of being, and like mind states. Like, they'll give you their own self-diagnosis. And it's like, like, how can you know that about yourself? Like, you're you, but then it's like you can see yourself from the outside, and that's so weird to me. Like, they'll tell you about who they are and not ask you. And that's weird. Like, Because like, how can you say that? How do you know? Well, shit, I know myself. Yeah, exactly. But to explain it to another person so like readily and like, you know what I'm saying? So readily, so ready-made,
Automated.
means basically that you are faced, that you are been exposed to all of these different options of categories. For one, you have a overall overhead understanding of the difference between the range of these different categories,
Automated.
and you identify with either or whatever sort of, you know, surrounding contexts of these
Automated.
ideas of a particular person, a standard general person. And that's like, okay, maybe socially, but that's already a construct. That's already a structured sort of, you know, exchange system. And that's fucking scary to me, bro. So it's like, whoa, like, that's nuts. And that comes from the fact that we heard, man. We heard about losing people. We're heard about being unsafe every day. We heard about that, yo, and we can't help but have to be. I can speak for myself. However, I don't necessarily relate with it so much because I can't be too hurt. Because honestly, like, there's also blessing. You know, like every moment is a blessing in itself. Even if you still have the memory of a fucked up ass life, every moment you lived has really basically been fucked up, and to be alive only reminds you of that. It's still a blessing to be able to even think about it, you know. And that's hard to accept because it's like it feels so good being able to forget about it. You know, I'm thinking might be high or drunk. That's you know, that's just a good place to be when it's like, damn, when you sober up and come back to life, and it's like you still got this shit to deal with. And it felt good not thinking about that shit. Not even having to try not to think about it felt good. But then it's like there's other things too that you wouldn't trade. You know, and there's always those things that you wouldn't trade. And that's what I mean, like, to where it's like it's still beautiful. It can still be beautiful. But as far as like us being hurt and me being hurt, I'm hurt about a lot of different things. But I'm a grown nigga, you know what I mean? I happen to be a man, so it's like I'm the one that makes the fucking difference. In my family, in my career, in my community, in my generation. You know what I'm saying? I'm a father and owner, nigga, and fucking brother, husband, nigga. You feel me? Like, literally, and that is what I am. That's what every man is born to be, right? In their own realm, in their own capacity, in their own fucking circle, you know, interlocked or whatever. It's a beautiful thing, like an example of structure, of basically structure, basically of strength, of fucking fortitude, of enforcement, basically, of enforcement. So it's like I can't be in my feelings. However, I have to be realistic. I have to be considerate. I have to be thoughtful, because everybody's not on the same level. Everybody's not so indifferent, not so, I guess you could say, like, you know, resolute. Not everybody's so unwavering, determined. You know, not everybody's so determined for whatever reason. You know, not everybody's so unbreakable. Not everybody's so fucking, you know what I'm saying, relentless, basically. Yeah? You know, fucking menacing. Beastie, you know what I mean? Not everybody is so fearless. You know? It's like fearless. You know, it's like, and it don't take all of that in order to be able to move balanced, reliably. But you got to see what, you know, you got to know, you got to see what's possible. You got to know what you can do in order to make your decision on what you're going to do. And it's like, if you look at life and you say, okay, well, shit, what's most realistic? What's most beneficial? What's most beneficial to the overall outcome, you know, which involves the future, which involves the past, which involves every person's idea, which involves everybody's fucking, you know what I mean, emotions, their investments, their impressions, their heart, basically. It involves their heart and their life and their happiness, which is really all that, you know what I mean, which is the point, like, you know, like, the life experience should not be compromised by another person's infringement upon your own direct connection, activity, direct, you know, experience. Like, I don't want to do nothing in my resolution, in my resolve, in my decision, in my plan as to what's most beneficial that will necessarily, I won't say interfere, but that will taint your interpretation, that will affect the naturalness, the authenticity, the, you know, just the chance sort of, you know, serendipity, basically, of your life. Like, I might have it figured out, but it's not necessarily something I'm going to make sure you know so that you can make the best decision for yourself. Like, I'm going to let you, I want you to make whatever decision you want to make. You know what I mean? I'm definitely not going to lie to you as far as, like, I see that's something you want to be possible or you want to be able to do. And so I will help you delude yourself so that I don't have to deal with you not being as satisfied as you would be if I allowed you to believe something that you would only be believing more because I didn't at least not lie to you. Because I ain't got to tell you the truth not to lie to you, yo. That's the art of omission, my nigga. That's, you know what I mean? It's like, then that's the whole point I'm making with all of this, like, you know what I mean? Sort of like, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? That's the point I'm making. Like, you come to me, right? And you want to be a star. You feel me? You want to be on TV. You want to be famous, basically. Right? You want to make a lot of money. You want to be successful. Right? You want to be influential. You want to be, you know what I'm saying? You want to network with, like, okay, well, look, you know what I'm saying? You want to be a star, right? You come to me, I'm going to tell you, okay, well, shit, I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to tell you nothing. I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to say, what do you see as possible? What do you see as the steps to take? And if you're honest with me, then I'm going to give you an honest response as to if, in my experience, I agree that is most advantageous to focus on or not, right? But if you're telling me something that I know that you wish was true, if you're telling me something that I know that you're lying to yourself, that I know that you know you lying to yourself about, first of all, that's the decision I have to make about you. That's a point of decision I would have to believe that about you, that I would have to make on your behalf in shaping my response to you. And so that's why I say what comes to heart, but I don't always have to be so stern or so blunt. You know, I say what I can say. I always will tell you the truth. if I'm saying anything to you, but I'm not. But at the same time, I know how not to say something, or I know how not to even be in a situation where I would have a conversation with anyone that I wouldn't want to be able to be transparent with, or is not ready for real conversations, or real communication, or real, plans, real, deliberation. Because that's really what we're doing when we're speaking with each other. Like, we're arranging our movements, basically, our directions, our destinations, and our decisions, and these discussions that we're having with each other. When it comes to your dreams and your destiny, like, and that's the whole point, and that connects to what I was saying as far as like, how does my destiny interlock with your destiny as far as us being men in the circles of our circumference of our circles? How does my destiny, you know what I mean, deflect or depend upon, or, divert, with your destiny, yo? For real. And it's like, if we both focused on the purpose of life, if we're both focused on the meaning of life, the divine order of this current experience between future and past, then that makes that exchange, that interaction between us, just that much more integral, just that much more purposed, principle, just that much more mystic and divine, just that much more beneficial. You feel me? I can come up with an antidote to give you. I can come up with a treatment or a formula to inspire you, or to redirect you, or to satisfy, entertain you. And I can still do that though while we're doing what we're going to end up having to do anyway, is what I'm saying. I can still do that with our exchange being authentic and genuine and sincere. Like, there's different levels to it. We don't have to go super deep into the layers. We can keep it on whatever layer, But if we like trying to, mix up different layers from different areas, it's like, because you a person and you this type of person and I'm a person and I'm this type of person. That was yesterday when we were doing this, but this is today and we're doing this today. That was in that conversation about that, and this is a whole nother day and I'm a whole nother person today. Yeah, I'm the same person that did this leading up to this moment in my life, the days before this day. But how many days in my fucking destiny is following this day, fool? So if you're going based on what has happened, you feel me what I'm talking about? Like, it's all still happening. And that's the whole point. Like, and we thinking about, oh, you know what I mean? We gotta go. Like, okay, yeah, true enough. But yo, my nigga, like, if we was thinking about that a lot less, imagine how much more. I'm just saying, like, you hear what I'm saying, like, right? Like, yeah, it's all what it is. However, like, where two minds meet, that dear God has been in the midst of both of them. Two heads is better than one, basically, unless they on a different accord, they not aligned with each other. Then that's when two heads is not better than one, bro. Because really it's all one mind to begin with, bro. All consciousness is connected. We have our own consciences. But even the conscious, subconscious, or direct consciousness that we utilize in our thinking, in our planning, in our deciding, is connected to every decision ever made, that ever will be made from this point on as well. every thought, every freaking step, every word, every conversation. And so like, just as men, when we keep that in mind, at least in the back of our mind, that it's like that's really like a fortification in itself. It's a solidification in itself for us to be able to stand strong on, even if we're gonna dance around, you know. There's always that trap, and that's the whole point. Like, you know, a lot of us feel trapped already because we haven't really accepted the fact that everything is destiny, bro. Everything is destiny, even the bad things, and that's crazy because it's like that make it to where now you either mad or you're not, and if you're not mad, then why aren't you mad about it? It's gonna take you having to be grateful, having to be humble in the fact that you, first of all, didn't make yourself to begin with. So really, whatever is going on, it must be purposely. You know what I mean? All you can do is make the best of it. All you can do, and all you need to be able to do, is what you came to do, and then that becomes the question: what did you come to do? You know. And if you ask yourself the question, if you can arrange your life, the elements of your life and life experience to where you have the opening to seriously or sincerely, whether you're serious or silly, you sincerely asking yourself this question so as to answer the question and build upon that answer in that direction towards that destination. Because even once you get there, like I said, once you get to that destination, it's going to influence another decision, which will determine another destination. You know what I mean? And it takes you not accepting not to accept, to refute what's common, what is popularly emphasized or promoted, which is, of course, you know, just do what you can. Well, yeah, no, what did you come to do? It's, you know, and because you can do that, it's many things you can do. And a lot of times we're faced with what we want to do that we can't do. And so that kind of distracts us from focusing on developing our ability to do what we came to do. A lot of times in this whole fucked up situation where bad shit is happening for whatever reason, we find where it's harder, it's difficult, it's almost impossible, if not impossible, to do what we want to do. Where we've run into problems, having the ability or capability to do what we want to do, to where that now puts us in a mode, in a range, to where the thought of even focusing on developing the ability to do what our destiny, basically, do what we need to do. We've already accepted that as more impossible than is really even reasonable. You know, we're kind of already used to not even really letting it matter to us. We're used to kind of like not even focusing on it, not even like, you know, letting it unravel, blossom. Well, what I was saying, like, the main point, a lot of us, we find where we end up we can't. It's hard to do what we want to do. It seems as if we can't do what we want to do. And so that makes it easier for us to assume, to view the situation, view the circumstances, the surrounding circumstances in our immediate experiences, as well as immediate appreciation and activity. It makes it easier to view that as we can't do what we were made to do. We can't even do what we want to do. Like, and see, really, why would you even want to do anything other than what you came to do? Well, I mean, perhaps that because some of us came here to do things that, you know, you wouldn't regularly just want to be doing what some of us came to do. But that's interesting, right? That's interesting. First of all, it's not about other people, for one. You know, it's about your purpose. It's about your destiny. You know what I mean? You know, it's about your purpose. It's about your destiny. You know what I mean? Do you believe in that or not? Well, shit, you either do or you don't, and you're gonna have to decide before you do make any other decisions. Otherwise, every decision you make and you not even progressing in the direction towards the destination that decision that you made, bruh. Until you make that first decision, if you believe in destiny or not, yo. And what's cold is like, yeah, you might even be wrong, but with the shit, nigga. So what if you're wrong, nigga? You still made a decision. What if you're right? It's not why, but why not? And why not to just assume that it ain't is because you could be wrong. But if you was wrong and you don't have no destiny or destiny don't exist, you're not gonna know the difference anyway, nigga. Whatever your decision is, if you don't make it there because you was delusional that it was your destiny, you're gonna be on your way, nigga, when you don't make it, nigga. Or you gonna make it and have time once you get there, nigga, to now explore, nigga, diverse directions to that same destination, nigga. As well as other related and interrelated and outer related and non-related directions and destinations. Because why? You've now realized that. You've now taught yourself, you've now lived in realizing to the point of completion, to the point of destiny, destination, to the point of fullness. You know what I mean? And that applies to every other step you would take anywhere for whatever reason. So it's like, do you believe it or not? Yes, no? Well, okay, why do you believe it? Because it's probably just better to believe it than not believe it. Okay, fair enough. That's going to move you to a particular decision on whatever propensity, whatever social relation in your life. And as far as your circle, right? And, you know, just specifically to your fucking elements, the different components, different, you know, knobs in your configuration or whatever. You know, and just, you gotta move it. You gotta make it to that decision. Some destinations are closer, others are farther away. Some destinations are on your way to the main destination. You know what I mean? But it's just all about those decisions, and those decisions determine the destination, and the destination determines the direction. Because whatever your destination is, you can only go in whatever direction to a particular degree before you're not realizing, before you're not progressing towards that destination. You could take the furthest route, detour, but that curve is always going to bring you to that. You got to remember, nigga, the earth is curved. You might be closer to a destination right behind you than if you was to decide to walk in the exact 180 flip side reverse direction and take 100% of the time to get to the same spot that was right behind you. But you gonna get there eventually, though, my nigga. You gonna get there eventually. Now, you would have got there yesterday, 10 years ago. If you would have just turned your ass around, made your decision first, cause it's gonna broaden your perspective to where you be able to see 360 and you realize, yeah, nigga, this destination is right behind me. I was turned the wrong direction, about to walk 10 years for a 10-second trip.